Hello everybody and welcome to the Hilltop Pillbox in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today we're just going to run you through a battle, and this is going to be a pretty vanilla battle, okay? I'm not going to have a bunch of special units in there. As you can see, we've got lots of neat different things that are in there, and there's room to draw stuff or make notes if you want in there. If you want to develop your own units, there's plenty of room to do that. So, you know, have at her. They left room there. So, right off the hop here, we're just going to watch the Germans, okay, on the left and the Russians on the right going at it. Of course, the Germans are the attackers, as they typically are. And we're going to get things going right off the bat. Now, the first thing we do is all of the artillery and anti-aircraft. They all fire. They get something called a first strike, and we'll just point that out on both boards, okay, in the attacker board and on the defender board. Of course, we don't have to worry about the submarines, but the artillery and advanced artillery are there. And they fire at a 3, and the anti-aircraft fires at a 3. So we're just going to get going here with the Germans. And these casualties, if there are any, are removed from the battle, okay? So out of 3, well, the 88s I guess aren't firing too well. But the Russians, they have 6 artillery pieces and an AA gun. Now AA guns can fire at up to 3 aircraft. Okay, so we'll just fire. They need a 3 as well. Okay, and no joy there. Alright, but now they have their 6 artillery. Also fire at a 3. And wow, some close calls, just a single hit. And so the Germans typically take a man, done. Okay, so that's the opening salvo of the battle. And now, here come the Germans. Now the first thing we got to do here is apologize. I have to do is apologize because I used a couple of things incorrectly when I showed you the Japanese attack on Anzac. I used a strategic bomber like a strategic bomber is used in all the other versions that we've played, 1939 and in Axis and Allies Global. Again, this isn't Axis and Allies, this is Historical Board Gaming's game. But it's used differently in this game. It's not just, you know, you build a bunch of these, get a bunch of 8s, and away you go. In this game, each of the strategic bombers are going to throw midfolds of dice, but with low odds of getting a hit. So strategic bombers and heavy bombers, strategic fire 3, heavies fire 5. The 1 and the 2 there are what happens on strategic bombing raids. This is their interdiction involvement. Okay, but they roll 2s. Okay, so you got 3 dice at 2 or 5 dice at 2. Well, this is just a regular old-fashioned Heinkel coming over, and he drops his bombs. Hey, look at that, and got a hit. Okay, now anti-aircraft can be taken in any round as a casualty. Okay, and the Russians look at this and they say, well, it's going to be a close battle, but we're probably going to lose. So they chuck it out. Okay, now we'll continue on with our first round of combat. So we'll look at what the Germans have left. So they have 2 infantry. They have that little guy there, and he is a motorized. Okay, we can see mechanized here. We'll see him in a minute. Okay, we've got motorized, and then we've got an airborne troop. Okay, as we look, we can see the airborne are there. So they don't get a boost in attack like they do in some other games, and you actually need airborne troops in order to do an airborne drop. And they don't fight more effectively, but the thing is, they don't cost any more. They still cost the same amount as a regular infantry. Okay, so we've got 4 dice firing at 2. No joy. Lots of 10s. 3 of a kind. Alright, and now we got here. Now we typically would have 5 rolling at 3, but we've already fired the artillery, so we're just going to use these guys here. So these are supported, okay, artillery supported infantry, and the mechanized that I mentioned before. So that's that sculpt there. Okay, so we got 3 dice. And we got nothing. Boy, the Germans, I'll tell ya, their war games probably went better than this. Okay, and now we have tanks and planes. Now typically we'd say, hey, we've got 3 fighters, 3 tanks, let's roll 6 dice. Can't do that on the first round in 1936 because, well, let me show you why. Here's the tanks, okay? So the tanks are going to roll 3. They're rolling for 6s. We got 1 hit, okay? One guy back there. And now we got fighters. Now we have to roll the fighters separately because if the fighters get any hits, and thankfully they did, so I can see what's going on, I can show you what happens. When fighters get a hit on the first round of combat, first round of combat, they force the defender, and the defenders force the attacker as well, to take off an aircraft. Okay, so it's a really important rule to remember. Alright, is that aircraft, when fighters, not just bomb, fighters specifically come in and get a hit, if there's any fighters on the other side, they have to take that as a hit. Okay? So the Ruskies lost a fighter, even though they've got this huge shield of men and machines, they still lose a fighter. Okay? Then here we are on to the tacticals. Okay, my Stukas. I got one with the 30mm cannons. I thought that was pretty cool. So they are going to attack. Alright, no hits there. Okay? For argument's sake, and just to show you what goes on, if you roll between a 1 and a 3, you have target selection on tactical bombers. So we're going to say, sorry Russia, kind of getting screwed here. We're going to say that they got a 1. And so the target selection committee of the Nazis is going to move that guy right back. Okay? That's the heavy armor for the Russians. Now heavy armor, the Germans also brought. Here's the heavy armor right here. And the heavy armor attacks at an 8. Okay? So here goes the heavy armor. Gets a 7 with a big hit. Well, now we're just back to the regular hits. Okay, so we're going to move that back. Now, heavy armor, remember, is a tech. Okay? You have to actually get the technology. And if you ever want to know what a technology is, you just look here on the chart, and anything that has a nice yellow border, I hope that's showing up today, whatever has a nice yellow border on it is a technology that you would try to get on the tech chart. Okay, and I went over technologies before on one of my, I think the very first video I did of 39, of 36. So please go take a look at that. It's pretty simple stuff. You just pay to play. Alright, so that's it for the Germans. That's their first round of combat. All the special rules are done for now. But now the Russians, they get to defend. And this is round 1, if their aircraft get a hit, well then the Germans need to start losing fighters. But we'll start with the artillery. Okay, we'll start with the artillery. And there's 6 dice. Defending at a 3. And we got 1 hit. There goes Fritz. Okay. Now, class, name something that I did wrong there. I already rolled for the artillery. So I shouldn't roll again. Sorry, I got caught up in it there. Okay, now we have a fort. And a fortress, I highly recommend building fortresses if you feel like you're going to be the target of some aggression. And pair it up with some infantry, because the fortresses give you 2 5s just on the first round of combat, and makes up to 10 infantry also 5s instead of 4s. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 5s. Okay, then we have 2 tanks, and they're also 5s. So we actually have 10 5s. So I'm going to roll 5 dice twice. Okay, these are all 5s. Whoa, 1, 2, 3. 3 hits. And 1. So that's 4 hits. Alright, and so the Germans, they'll probably take off these guys here. Okay? Just because they're the cheapest. Those are all $3 and $4. Okay? Now, after the first round, that goes away. And these guys, they all skedaddle, they become 4s again. He's dead. Okay, so now we have 3 fighters at 6. And they did get a hit. And so Germany has to take a fighter off. Again, only the first round. Only in the first round. Very important to remember that. You don't get carried away and start chucking fighters out the whole game. You'll never build them. And then here we have the heavy armor. And heavy armor defends at a 7. Now, know that the Soviet Union does not have heavy armor in the out-of-box setup. Okay? That's not even something that they have on their charts. But you can always build it. And then I'd use these KV1 sculpts for that. So here it is. It's 7, and you got a 10. Okay, boo earns. Alright, so then there goes the casualties for the Russians. Alright, and then we're on to the next round. Now, all the special rules are done. They're all done. Okay, so here we go. Strat Bomber, rolling 3 dice. Got a hit. Artillery goes back. This plane is no longer in the battle at all. Okay, that was the air transport, so he'd fly back home to safety. Now the Germans have 5 at 3. They got 1 hit. And the Russians now have 5 at 6. 1. Wow, this is not going well. I think the Russians might start taking infantry off here. And then we've got 2 strategics. Oh, 2 and 3. 2 target selections for them. Okay. And it's important to note with the tactical, it's whether you're ground or naval, doesn't matter. When they 1 to 3, they can take who they want. Okay. So in this case, they would probably take the fighters. Okay. Okay, maybe they caught them unaware with a rear-firing cannon or something. Who knows? But there you go. Target selection 1 to 3 of their choice. If that only applies to ground units, I haven't seen it. Haven't seen the rule saying it's only ground units. I just see target selection. I will certainly put that clear that up in the next video. And then the last thing, the German heavy armor. 12. Boy, that's not doing so well. Okay, so we have 5 artillery at a 3. And we got 1 hit. So the German goes away. And then we have 5 at 4. The infantry defend at a 4. Well, they got 1. There goes another German. And then we have 2 5s. 1 hit. Artillery is really nice to have because you get to fire first. And then 2 6s. A 9 and an 8. So the Yaks went away quietly. Alright. Those are Russians. Okay, well now it's looking a little bit more like a German cakewalk. Alright, so here comes the Strat Bomber again. No joy. 2 artillery. 1 hit. And then we've got our 5 6s. 1, 2, 3. Let's go 1, 2, 3. And then our 2 tacticals. Boy, that target selection, I tell you, it's coming in handy. We'll choose a tank. And then finally the Tiger gets a hit. Okay. Russians need a good round here, so 2 at 3. Not a good start. And then we've got 5 at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's much better for them. So Germans take 1, 2, and 3, 4. Ooh, boy, I might even hang on to that. Hang on to the tank and lose the bomber, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. And then there are 2 at 5. 2 at 5. And nothing there. Okay, so the Russians are just about done. There's just 3 guys left here. Kind of a messy battlefield there. So here comes the strategic bomber. Can he finish things off with a magical throw? And no, but he did get 1 hit. Okay, 1 hit. The tanks, a tank and 2 fighters at 6. And there's the last 2 hits. Okay, so 2 men at 4, 1 hit, 1 tank at 5 with a miss. So we did get 1 more hit here. And it would depend on where Germany's attacking, what Russia can come back with, are there any paratroopers he's got to worry about, things like that. Alright, but strictly from a cost analysis, this would be a lot cheaper. The Strat bomber costs 12 and the armor costs 6. So that's 2 tanks right there. Okay, so the Germans would win that battle and take the territory. Alright. But let's say we decided to, just because we felt like it, we'll get rid of the Strat. And let's say that in the next territory, there's just 1 lone Russian. Well, any units that have the Blitz ability, that guy, okay, and you can also pair mechanized, I believe, to go flying through, can Blitz, pair up with the tank and Blitz, okay? Can come through and do another attack. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. They can come by and blitz. Blitz with medium armor and mechanized infantry units pair up 1-to-1 and go. So, if there were a mech surviving, then these 2 guys go in. And if there's aircraft that still have enough movement points that they can actually still fly to that zone and then get back to where they need to, okay, they can go along and blast away. Only fighters and tactical bombers though. So had the Strat bomber survived, he could not. He's not allowed to do that because he's going to go over and drop everything and leave. But these guys here can roam around and go to the next one, and we could have another battle. Okay, so that's what the Blitz does. Okay. Now, it is important to remember that in 1936, this game, if somebody's coming at you with a ton of tanks, make sure that if they're smashing into one spot, that you have something there to deal with them should they want to blitz right after. Because this is a beautiful part of this game, folks, is they can punch a hole and go flying through. It's just like the real thing, right? Just like the real Blitz was. So I think that really captures it. All right, is that the planes and the armor and the mechanized infantry can come flying through and blast away. Okay, but only those 3 units. Okay, the mechanized infantry, medium armor, and your fighters and tactical bombers. Okay, that's all. But boy, that can really ruin your day if you're not ready for it. Okay, so just an important note, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. Any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know, and I will try to answer them. Again, I'm still making sure I try to get everything right here, but sometimes I just forget or I slip into old Axis and Allies rules, and I'm going to really make sure that I clarify things if I find myself messing up, okay? But so far, this one here, so far so good, I believe. Again, this was a pretty vanilla battle. Didn't have a lot of the special units in there, but I wanted to show you the Blitz, and I wanted to show you the strategic bombing and the artillery first strike. That's a very important part of 1936. Okay, folks, have yourselves a great day, and just enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, have a great time. May the dice be with you.